Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Amber. Today I have a serious subject for you. If talk of any kind of abuse or trauma makes you uneasy, then please pause this video and walk away. But before you do, please know that I believe this is an important video. Thank you for making it this far either way. Today's subject is child-on-child sexual abuse, abbreviated COCSA. This is a subject that's not well discussed, mainly because there's this misconception that somehow it doesn't happen nearly as often as it does, or that kids don't know what they're doing, so it's just innocent play, or that it just somehow went wrong. Now, while sometimes that is the case because kids play doctor and they do touch each other, because kids are bound to explore body parts and other such things, that is not the situation a lot of the time. In this video, I will go over some common misconceptions so that you are better informed, and hopefully better able to stop it before it happens, or at the very least are better able to handle it when it does. First up, the myth that children never abuse other children and that all sexual abuse happens by adults. This is absolutely not true. I know that this is true firsthand because I was raped and bullied into putting things up my vagina by people who were under the age of 18, multiple times. I was also under the age of 18, which puts this into the category of COCSA, or child-on-child sexual assault. I also have other first-hand testimonies. However, I do not have the people's permission to share identifying details or names. There are other cases where boys at summer camp are bullied into exploring sexually with one another, where brothers or sisters taking baths together will penetrate their younger siblings, and even in foster care, the older foster siblings will molest the younger ones if left alone with them. Next we have the myth that if a child is sexually abused, everyone will automatically know. That is also incredibly false. It's only now suspected that 1 in 4 young ladies and 1 in 6 young men will be molested before the age of 18, whether by adults or other children. But because of the lack of willingness to come forward and other evidence, we will never know. Why won't some kids come forward if they're being abused? Well, there are numerous reasons. One is that their verbal skills aren't fully developed yet in some cases. Some of the children simply don't have the right words, or are simply too young to be able to tell people what's really going on. More often than not, kids are taught to think that it's okay through grooming behaviors. Grooming behavior can look like treats or praise, or even making the sexual abuse out to be a game. This can happen from adults and or older children. They don't know it's wrong, so they go with it. That is to say, they accept these behaviors as normal. Myth number 3, that somehow you'll keep them safe if you keep them away from strangers or tell them not to let strangers touch them. That is not always the case, as most sexual assault on children is performed by people the child already knows and trusts. This can include other children, especially children the child has no problem being alone with. The best thing to do in cases where you must leave your child, or a child you know or are responsible for, alone with anyone, is to teach that child the difference between appropriate and inappropriate touching. You can also teach them that they do have the right to say no, no matter what, to any kind of touching. This will help them avoid being tricked into allowing sexual assault to happen, or any kind of uncomfortable or inappropriate touching. It will also allow them to know for themselves when to speak up if someone tries to molest them. Remember, knowledge is power. What should you do if you suspect that a child is being abused? Your community does have resources. First, though, you should try to communicate with the child. If they're old enough to speak, try to get them to form coherent, informative sentences. This will give you details as to what actually is happening. Never blame or sound agitated if you can help it. They may feel like they will be in trouble, or like they've done something bad and will have to hide it, or like they have to hide details from you. I know it may be hard, but you should try and remain calm. This will help greatly in allowing the child to feel that you are a person that they can trust. This is the most important thing. Sometimes the abusers will threaten the child that bad things will happen to them if they tell anyone, so in order for them to feel like you're not a bad person or like nothing bad will happen if they tell anyone, it's important that you remain calm. Thank the child for any information they give, even if it's vague and not specifically informative, because you want them to feel like they've done something right. It's important to thank them for any information at all, even if it doesn't lead to anything in the end. This makes them feel more confident in telling you anything in the future should something more aggressive happen. Lastly, if the child is too young to speak, or if you suspect through other means that abuse has taken place, a medical exam may be necessary. It's not a pleasant experience for anyone to go through. However, there are the possible risks of STDs or internal damage. I'm apologizing for this ahead of time. These details can be a bit extreme, so please shut off the sound if you don't want to hear this. Child molestation can result in internal scarring, internal organ damage, and STDs that can scar and other things. Exams are not pretty at all. To tell you a personal experience, I ended up having a tube this big shoved up me, and the nurse put her hand over my mouth and told me to stop screaming because I would scare the other patients. I was 8 and a half. So yeah, not pleasant at all. I lived through it. Everybody deemed it necessary. I don't know. The most important thing that you can do is be there for the child going through these things. Never ever blame the child. Never ever freak out. I know that this may seem pretty common sense and also impossible at the same time. But keep in mind that your community does have resources for not only the child who has gone through the abuse, but also the caretakers of the child. If the medical exam is inconclusive, then a psychological exam may be necessary next. This not only rules out simple mental illness that might frame people in a bad light, but also if the child doesn't feel comfortable talking to you as an adult or another adult in the household, the child may feel more comfortable talking in a safe space away from the household entirely. Another important thing about therapy is to not force the child to go if they do not want to go. This will achieve nothing and only make the child have negative feelings about therapy in the future. It's very important that you never force the child to attend therapy. In closing, I hope that this video has been helpful and informative to you. I would ask that you share it with anyone that you deem relevant. Childminders, parents, teachers, even your friends. The more we talk about this subject, the more we become aware of it as a global community. It is a hard subject to talk about, but it is one that is very much needed. In some cultures, children do have sex willingly and they know what they're doing. That is different. In some cultures, it is acceptable for children as young as 6 years old to engage in sexual activities, and it is not frowned upon. That is that culture, and they know what they're doing. However, in other cultures, such as the United States, children are not allowed to have sex. That being said, in this culture, it is illegal for one child to have sex with another. The more that we discuss this, however, the more we can do about it. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you see something, say something. Goodbye. Oh, I almost forgot. If you have any stories, please feel free to share them below.